Good evening, and welcome to the Board of Merit Aldermen meeting for Monday, February 26th. If you could begin to take your seats. We've got a very good meeting this evening. A couple of highlights. We will meet as a beer board this evening to look at an application for a temporary beer permit. We also have a memorandum of understanding with our partners at the Germantown Municipal School District for administration offices, and a pretty long consent agenda as well. This evening we have the invocation will be led by Pam Beasley. We have the privilege of having the Troop 241 from Christ United Methodist Church will present the colors, and they are led by one of our city attorneys as well, Mr. Cates. And so I would ask for Troop 241 to present our colors. Please stand. Please remain standing for our invocation.
Let us all pray. Gracious and Heavenly Father, before we begin our business tonight, we pause to give you honor and praise. You give us and our city abundant blessings. We are grateful for all those blessings, and especially your strength and grace ever present in our lives. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to come together tonight and ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting. Guide our hearts and actions with your wisdom as we seek to serve and honor and respect to all. Father, as spring draws near, we ask that our souls would catch the wind of your Spirit, lift our hearts with hope, and help us experience your ever-ending love. We ask these things in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Please be seated. Brings us to item number 4 on our agenda this evening, the setting of the agenda. The board meets in executive session at 5:30, each board meeting Monday, and goes over the agenda in detail, including the consent agenda. At that particular time, the board identified item 10F, Grant for Leadership Germantown, to be placed on the traditional agenda. That item will move to the regular agenda and will be read as item 11A. 11B will be the current item 11, construction contract, Farmington Park East Field renovations. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
Move to approve.
There's a motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Thank you. The agenda has been set for this evening. Brings us to item number 5, approval of the February 12th, 2018 minutes in executive session. There are no corrections or modifications. Are there any at this time? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented to the public?
Move to approve.
It's a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Minutes have been approved for the meeting that was held a couple weeks ago on the 12th. It takes us to item number 6 on the agenda, special recognition. We have 3 different items this evening. The first 2 are education related. Vice Mayor Gibson will present those two items. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. If I could ask the members of the Education Commission to come forward, as well as our special recognition Teacher of the Month, Ms. Michelle Delaby. And I'll say that several times. It is an honor for the Germantown Education Commission to present the February 2018 Teacher of the Month Award to Ms. Michelle Delaby. Ms. Delaby is a veteran 8th grade mathematics teacher at Riverdale School, where she has taught rising high schoolers Honors Algebra 1, which is typically a subject taught in the 9th grade, for 9 years. Her current and former students reported to the Commission that she was always willing to help and has made the math easy to understand for our class. It is clear that Mrs. Delaby wants every one of her students to succeed in high school, going as far as tutoring her former students even after they are no longer at Riverdale. She is an impactful teacher. One student remarked, "I am grateful to have had a teacher who cared so much for me in and outside of the classroom." We're actually joined by Principal Joseph Bond, as well as the PTA President, Ms. Bonnie Lee. Your principal observed that she consistently creates lessons that both authentically engage students and ensures that all students are pushed to perform beyond expectations. As an aside, we know that a teacher is special when her current and former students take the time to write a personal note of recommendation to the Commission. Not only does Mrs. Delaby support her students in the classroom, but she also actively supports them in their extracurricular activities. A strong supporter of student wellness and physical activity, she coaches the girls' basketball, track, and volleyball teams at Riverdale and serves as the Student Council faculty sponsor. As a specialist in the new mathematics curriculum, she has represented Riverdale and the Germantown Municipal School District at regional and statewide mathematics conferences and has served on the GMSD and Riverdale Mathematics textbook selection committees. In addition to being active in her church, Mrs. Delaby is active in the community charitable activities, always lending a helping hand. She is clearly an asset to Riverdale and the entire Germantown community. Mrs. Delaby, please accept our appreciation for your commitment to Germantown students and to excellence every day. Your award is sponsored by Principal Toyota. I had lots of conversations with people today that said they wanted to come and hug you today. So if you haven't already received those, you will be. And so if I could ask for our Youth Excellence Award winner to please come forward, Brennan Douglas. Thank you, Brennan. The February 2018 Youth Excellence Award is presented to Brennan Douglas, a senior at Houston High School. Brennan was described to the Commission as polite and humble, showing a maturity not found in many young people her age, and an exceptional young woman. She has strong interest in foreign languages and is fluent in both written and spoken German. She is currently enrolled in AP German and serves as president of the Houston German Club, where she leads the club in all sorts of activities throughout the year, focused on exposing the Houston community to the German culture. She has scored in the top 10% nationwide on the National German Exam, earning a gold medal. She is a multiple award winner at the University of Memphis Foreign Language Fair, where she has received prizes in vocabulary, essay writing, and poetry, all in German. She is a member of the German National Honor Society, the National Honor Society, and the National Mathematics Society. Speaking of mathematics, Brennan has a talent there too. Currently enrolled in AP Physics, she has recognized this year as an AP Scholar with honors, placing her in the top 4% of her senior class. She is a member of the 30-plus ACT Club, having scored a 30 or above on the ACT College Entrance Exam. On top of her academic achievements, Brennan is a drum major in the Houston Marching Band, where she spends hours practicing, volunteering, and fundraising for band events. She was chosen this year for the All West Tennessee Band, an active volunteer for local charities, including St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. It is obvious that she leads by serving. In recognition of her commitment to leadership, academic excellence, and service to her community, the Germantown Education Commission is proud to present Brennan Douglas with the February 2018 Germantown Youth Excellence Award, sponsored by Principal Toyota.
On behalf of the Board of Merit Aldermen in the city, we congratulate our educator and our student on what great accomplishments in the classroom, teaching and learning. Thank you very, very much. And now item 6C on the agenda, Arbor Day proclamation. I'll read the proclamation into the record. The city's been a Tree USA city for many, many years. It's very appropriate that we participate in Arbor Day. Whereas, not my fault. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Whereas our nation continues a long-standing tradition of setting aside a special day for planting of trees, and this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in 1872. And whereas in Germantown, our city has been blessed with a plentiful number and variety of trees. They have added beauty to our landscape, added a touch of nature to our streetscapes and residential properties, and provided our citizens with places of beauty to find wholesome recreation. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Germantown has expanded our commitment to tree conservation through the addition of a tree inventory data collection system, the establishment of a Level 1 Arboretum at Oak Lawn Garden, and a partnership with the Tennessee chapter of the Nature Conservancy to implement their national educational tree program titled If Trees Could Sing. And whereas Germantown citizens are invited to participate in a free dogwood tree giveaway and annual fruit tree sale to benefit the Germantown beautification projects from 9 to 11 a.m. on Friday, March the 2nd at the Germantown Crossing Shopping Center. And whereas the Germantown Tree Board and Beautification Commission invite everyone to support the city's 27th anniversary of being designated as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation by participating in these community events. Now, therefore, I, Mike Palazzolo, Mayor of the City of Germantown, do hereby proclaim Friday, March 2nd, 2018 as the 146th anniversary celebration of Arbor Day in our country, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day in Germantown and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands as well. So congratulations, we're going to have another great Arbor Day, and those dates and activities, please mark your calendar for Friday. We'll be giving away upwards of 1,000 trees, so we do celebrate Arbor Day in our city. That takes us to item number 7 on the agenda, our Alderman Liaison reports. We give reports from Alderman position 1 through 5. Alderman Barzizza.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the lead-in to Arbor Day. Again, that's March 2nd from 9 to 11 at the in the Huey's parking lot. If I could just tell you a few things about the trees that you're going to be seeing. If you are a Germantown resident and bring just a way for us to know that you are a resident, the trees that will be given away are the Coosa dogwood, pink dogwood, silky dogwood, red tree, red twig dogwood, as well as redbud trees. And if for some reason, if you did want to pre-order your fruit trees or the berries, just call Parks and Rec at 757-7375, or on the city's website. We can give you more information about that. But what a special day in Germantown, Arbor Day. The Education Commission met this past week, and we are working on Education Celebration, which celebrates excellence in education here in Germantown. We'll be awarding the Marjorie Reapy Teacher of the Year Award at that time, and so we will have a date late April, early May, working with that. And then the Library Board, great news to report. This past weekend, over 1,200 folks crossed that threshold with many programs. They had an event that celebrates the Big Read, which is the book this year is True Grit, and so there were activities surrounding that. So again, 1,200 to 1,300 folks that visited our exceptional library. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Alderman Massey.
Mayor, I don't have anything to report. The Environmental Commission meeting will be March 1st at 6 o'clock, and then we have the Public Safety Education meeting on March 5th at 5:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Owens.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the Parks and Recreation Commission, we met last Thursday evening to review parks and recreation fees and charges for the FY19 budget. We considered dog park membership guidelines, and we discussed future naming rights opportunities for parks and recreation amenities. The Commission also conducted their final review of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan report with a recommendation for this board, Mayor and Aldermen, to adopt the revised design plans after much community discussion and input. The BMA, this board, will hold a work session this Wednesday evening with the plan design team and representatives from the Parks and Recreation Commission before taking any official action. The Planning Commission did not have any items, but we will be meeting this coming Tuesday.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Yonda.
Thank you, Mayor. The Personnel Advisory Commission held our first meeting of the year on February 21st. This commission's primary focus is to review the benefits and compensation program for our city employees. This covers benefits, including the health plan and compensation, including their annual merit pay pool. The Commission is also interested in the Healthy Germantown for City Employees initiative, and specifically to encourage healthier lifestyles through the promotion of physical activity, healthier eating, something I don't do, and reducing the use of nicotine-related products. The shared goal is to have a positive impact on the overall health and the overall cost of health care from a budget perspective for the city, our employees, dependents, and retirees. This year, we are welcoming 3 new first-time Commission members with extensive and diverse HR experience, and we expect to take advantage of their shared expertise in providing constructive input for the FY19 budget. That's the report on the PAC. The Retirement and Post-Benefits Commission meets tomorrow, and the Audit Commission meets on Thursday of this week. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman, and thank you all, Aldermen, for bringing your reports forward. Before we go to Citizens to be Heard, I just want to recognize some folks that are here this evening. We've got Janie Day, our Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce. Janie, thank you for being here. Stephanie Brockway, our Executive Director of Germantown Education Foundation. Superintendent Jason Manuel is here this evening, and Board Member Linda Fisher as well. I hope I didn't leave any other elected people out that are in attendance today. That takes us to item 8 on our agenda, Citizens to be Heard. When I call your name, you'll have 3 minutes to come forward and make a statement to the board. Prior to that, I'll read the guidelines that each person has read and signed and should adhere to. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen welcomes comments from citizens and offers the agenda item known as Citizens to be Heard at each meeting. To participate, please provide the information requested below, agreeing to respect the instructions and present this form to the city clerk, which everyone has done. Citizens to be Heard is designed to gain input from the public and not for immediate responses by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The intent of this agenda item is to provide the public a platform to be thoughtfully heard and not a forum for dialogue, discussion, or verbal exchange with the board. While the board cannot assure each speaker of a specific or individualized future response, the board will consider the public comments and any supporting materials provided by the speaker. Public comments should be limited to 3 minutes per resident. Speakers must clearly state their name, home address, organization they're representing, if any, and the subject of their presentation. Speakers may offer objective comments. Speakers are asked to refrain from using names of personnel or names of person connected with the city, particularly when lodging a complaint. Speakers will not be permitted to engage in gossip, hearsay, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. The presiding board chair shall have sole authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to the board rules. The first person to come forward would be Mr. Gary Enzer. You can come to either one of the two podiums and state your name. And we have your address. Well, state your address for the record as well, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Gary Yenser. I'm at 9325 Williams Glen Cove in Germantown, 38139. I wanted to come forward and just talk a little bit about my experience with Leadership Germantown and urge the board and any listening citizens to support and embrace it. I feel I'm a pretty good case study. I moved to Germantown in 2008 after living in 7 states and another country. And Germantown rapidly became my adopted home. I landed in Germantown in the region because I was advised that the school system was superior, which I felt has been validated very much with my children going through the system. So I sought to get involved with some of the educational activities and continue to this day. To shorten it up, I took an early retirement option, left my professional career, and started my own business so that I could stay in Germantown and my kids could progress through that school system. I was inspired by that and the degree to which the citizenry is engaged around here, and I kind of felt a little bit inadequate. So Leadership Germantown was put forward as something I might be interested in, and I joined it and spent the better part of a year going through that program. 2 things happened. I built some lifelong bonds with a lot of people, all right, and the glue and the tie that binds is Germantown. And then secondly, I learned a lot about the community, both the government and the community at large. I had this standing thing of each of the special days where, you know, we're safe. We're not safe by accident. Our fire ratings aren't that way by accident. Our schools aren't that way by accident. You learn a lot about this city through that program, and it drove me to get much more engaged and adopt Germantown as my home and participate in a way I never dreamed. So I urge your support for the initiative, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yenser. Next to speak will be Lori Whitney. If you could come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Lori Whitney, 8869 Darby Dan Lane. I'm the chairman of the board for Leadership Germantown. And I'd just like to read a few remarks, if I may. First, I'd like to thank the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for your investment in Leadership Germantown. I've specifically chosen the word investment for several reasons. In 1996, it was the city that invested in the development of the Leadership Germantown program. Like-minded volunteers and public servants who live and work in Germantown have come together for 20-plus years to give back to our city. That was the intent in 1996, and that is the intent today. We often talk about the value of the program days and the exposure it brings to class participants, but we fail to tell our own positive story about the return on investment to the city. I'd like to give an example. The class of 2016 wanted to bring back the beloved fountain as their class project. This was a huge undertaking and one that the community had been requesting. The fountain was refurbished, placed near the Pickering Center, and required plumbing, masonry, landscaping, etc. Additionally, this project required a significant amount of sweat equity by the class of 2016, their families, and friends. Ultimately, the class raised $70,000 for this project. In contrast, if the city had taken on this project, it would have totaled approximately $250,000. Last year's class provided funding for the life-size chessboard that many have already enjoyed next to the library. But many are unaware that the class also quietly took on another project. While touring the Madonna Learning Center, they learned that there was a beautiful new playground. However, children in wheelchairs were unable to access it. Some teachers said that they had never brought their class to the playground in an effort to be fair to all of their students. The class of 2017 assisted in getting a ramp built that now can accommodate wheelchairs and allows all children to access this playground. There are so many stories like this that that have very little press, but give back significantly to the city and the nonprofits of this city. Leadership Germantown is grateful for your allocation of dollars, and we intend to be a good steward of your investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitney. Next speaker will be Natalie Williams. If you can come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Williams. I live at 8049 Neshoba Road here in Germantown. I am currently the president of the Leadership Germantown Alumni Association, and that is a position that I am humbled to have and honored to have. We have close to 500 alumni throughout the area, and some have moved on even to other places, and for them to entrust me with this position is something I am truly honored to have. I am here tonight to speak in support of the funding, the allocation of the money for Leadership Germantown. This will not impact my organization, as we are a separate organization. However, the alumni that I serve do come to me after they graduate the Leadership Germantown program. I see Leadership Germantown as an investment in residents and employers and employees within our great city. Leadership Germantown, to me, is very similar to other opportunities, educational opportunities that you fund, such as the CERT program, the Athletic Club, the Germantown Performing Arts Center, the Germantown Community Theater, many of the commissions that you fund who then put on educational programming, Safety City, for example. Leadership Germantown is a chance for folks that reside and work in Germantown to become educated and engaged. The funding that you look at allocating tonight is approximately $500 per current class member. This will exponentially multiply, as so beautifully stated by Ms. Whitney, into projects that enhance our city and volunteer hours in commissions, boards, Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops, and other organizations throughout our city. I ask for your support of Leadership Germantown funding. What I'm really asking is that you support your Germantown residents, your Germantown employers and employees that choose to participate in this educational program. Thank you very much for the opportunities to speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. The next speaker will be Jennifer Sisson. If you could come forward and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Sisson. I reside at 2676 Fox Creek Drive in Germantown. I am here in support of the city's investment in Leadership Germantown. I was a part of the class of 2011, and I have served on that board since 2012. I believe an effective leader needs leadership skills as well as leadership opportunities, and LG gives participants both. It begins with a weekend session to learn about leadership skills at Team Trek, which is a world-class leadership development program. It then continues, the class will participate in several sessions over the course of 6 months that they will learn about the city, the community, and county programs. This is an opportunity to showcase what options there are within our community for residents to take advantage of, to be a part of, but also leadership areas where they can get involved. Through Leadership Germantown, I learned about the city's commissions, and I applied and have served the city through that avenue for many years and currently. I've watched my classmates serve our community as commissioners on various commissions, as educators, police officers, volunteers, and so many community projects. I've enjoyed the hours of volunteer service of our alumni through their involvement in the Bobby Lanier Farm Park. I've watched our Alumni Association spotlight community volunteers through its presentation of the Joe Reed Award. Children in our community enjoy books in our schools donated by one of our class projects. LG trains leaders, then brings them together with opportunities for leadership. I applaud the board's support at Leadership Germantown, and I urge you to continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sisson. The next speaker will be Ashley Cullen. If you could come forward and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Ashley Cullum. I live at 604 North Riverwind Cove, and I'm the program coordinator for Leadership Germantown. Good evening. I'm a graduate of Leadership Germantown class of 2013. I was honored to have been selected by my class as one of 2 graduates to serve on the board for Leadership Germantown. I've served on the board since 2013 until the position of program coordinator became available. I love Leadership Germantown, the program, and I love serving on the board so much that I wanted to further advance and help advance our mission. In November, I was offered and accepted the position of program coordinator. The mission of Leadership Germantown is to equip graduates to lead, connect, and navigate change within our community. Leadership Germantown accomplishes its mission by developing and engaging individuals through a program of orientation and exposure to a community with issues, providing a framework for meeting future leadership opportunities. Simply put, we are building a better community, one leader at a time. We're able to give each class member 10 completely different sessions, all covering topics that pertain to the city and/or citizens of Germantown. We do this in a 6-month time frame. We spend an entire day solely focusing on one broad topic while offering and visiting many different venues, giving our class members opportunities, ideas, and ways to get involved. How incredible is it that as a graduate of Leadership Germantown, you can proudly say you've gotten many experiences, such as learning about your state government, where's your water come from, arts in Germantown. You've learned about local businesses, what drives our Germantown economy, and gotten to meet first responders that protect us in this great city. This has made me appreciate what a wonderful community and city we have here. The education we're able to offer each class is extremely diverse, but even more than that are the people who choose to go through the program. It's people from all walks of life, from young stars in his or her field to executives to retirees. We have different races, cultures, genders, religion, political stances, and socioeconomic backgrounds. The reason we feel like this is a worthwhile investment is that not only are we providing them with an opportunity to learn about the city, but each class gives back tangibly through a class project and through countless number of immeasurable ways that reach beyond the class to our community. The class not only develops knowledge of the city, but also their leadership skills. Our goal is that each class member become a more engaged citizen. So I hope this helps you see why the grant not only helps Leadership Germantown, but also the city of Germantown itself.
Thank you, Ms. Cullen. The next speaker will be Reverend Susan Wiggins. If you could come forward and give us your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Susan Wiggins, Associate Pastor for Germantown Presbyterian Church, and I live at 1363 Coppershire Cove in Germantown. And I also want to speak on the Leadership Germantown grant. I'm fairly new to Germantown. I've been here about 20 months, which is when I came in July of 2016 to serve Germantown Presbyterian Church. But before I came, I first sought out Leadership Germantown because I'm also an alumni of Leadership Greater Little Rock. And I already understood the tremendous benefits that a leadership program in a community has. So let me share with you what I see are some of the values of Leadership Germantown. It is beyond a doubt the best way for a leader to come to know the infrastructure of a community. Leadership Germantown trains leaders for our community. It pushes leaders outside of their comfort zones to become outside-of-the-box thinkers, which benefits not only their own professions, but also greatly benefits the community of Germantown. Leadership Germantown provides leadership opportunities within Germantown to serve on committees and commissions and boards. Leadership Germantown teaches teamwork among leadership, which again benefits everyone on every board and commission and committee that they serve on. LG also creates networking opportunities among community leaders that are very diverse. in their industries, financial and education and public safety and religion. Again, benefiting both the leaders and the community, as the more diverse that we are in our lives, in our businesses, and in our society, the stronger we become as people, as leaders, and as a community as a whole. Thus, this community, I believe, would not be as strong as it is without the Leadership Germantown alumni that you have serving in so many capacities, each one giving of their time to not only serve but to better our community. Funds allocated to Leadership Germantown come back to this community more than tenfold in time and talent shared. So I strongly also encourage you to continue building leadership today for tomorrow's Germantown, through Leadership Germantown. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Next speaker will be Sarah Freeman. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Sarah Freeman, 7684 Appahan Lane. On tonight's agenda, Leadership Germantown is requesting over $13,000 from the public coffers and unidentified non-cash civic support with no price tag attached. First, I want to say and make clear that there are many wonderful, generous, and well-meaning people in this organization. Indeed, I have met some and know some. Second, it is also a private and exclusive organization, which often functions as a para-political arm of the current administration. Watching the so-called candidates debate of 2016, sponsored by Leadership Germantown, demonstrates the truth of that statement. In point of fact, I believe it is not the administration's place to be granting this private organization funds from taxpayers, especially those who do not necessarily support the partisan activities of this group. However, to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, which is critical, if Leadership Germantown pursues this claim on public money and resources, its leaders need to declare publicly that in no way will they involve the organization in the elections, pro or con, of the officials from whom they are now tonight asking money. If there is no such declaration of independence, then the public is left to conclude that there is likely a quid pro quo in which public monies are being granted to Leadership Germantown in return for its support of candidates who vote to give them money. This is unseemly and strikes at the integrity of both government and the elective process. I am sure that many from the organization know that what I say is true and are personally conflicted. Their leaders are even now tonight using this near demand for money as an opportunity to damage the administration's political opponents. It's a divisive maneuver, unfortunate, as there are many positive things the organization does accomplish, and some very, very good people involved with the organization. So I ask two things: that you table the vote, get a clear budget as to what they're asking for, and a clear indication that they will not be involved in any kind of partisan activity with these elections. And I also want to enter into the public record the email that was sent out to Germantown leadership that demonstrates my supporting documentation, Michelle, that Michelle and I will go over tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Freeman. Next speaker, Russell Johnson. If you could come forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Either podium's fine. Just make sure the red button's on.
Red button's on. Do I get 3 minutes off? 3 minutes off for how long it took me to get up here?
I haven't started the clock yet. State your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Russell Johnson. Good evening.
Address?
2816 Hunter's Forest here in Germantown. Thank you for letting me speak. And I am speaking to endorse the city's grant to Leadership Germantown. I'm a graduate in '99, had a splendid time. There's a lot of wonderful graduates that came from it, over 400. To my knowledge, we have actively tried to avoid any kind of political alignment. We go out of our way to try to make sure it's an open organization. We welcome all voices. to the organization, and we want to hear from everybody. Everybody. We would welcome you to make application to the organization, anyone who has any doubts about it. If I could, let me be redundant about something, although I think it's very important, and we're all very proud of it. I would just like to recognize the mayor and the aldermen, Mr. Lawton and his staff, for winning the Tennessee Center for Performance Excellence Award in Tennessee. I have not heard that enough. I haven't seen it in the press enough, and I think it's just outstanding. I mean, this was Germantown. It was the only municipality, to my knowledge, that got it. Also, just to speak about the other things that happened during 2017 for the city of Germantown, thanks to you, Mr. Mayor, and the aldermen who supported these projects, and Mr. Lawton and the staff that's just overwhelming. It's wonderful. The successful year for Germantown includes the reaffirmation of the city's AAA bond rating from both Moody's and Standard & Poor's, the fire department's Class 1 ISO rating, the Germantown Police Department's Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police accreditation, the National Recreation and Parks Association accreditation and Distinguished Budget and Audit Awards from the Government Finance Officers Association, and other significant honors, including the Healthier Tennessee, Community of the Year, Commercial Appeal Top Workplace, 100 Best Fleets in America. That is no small achievement. And recognition as TVA's Platinum Sustainable Community. Now, where am I going with this? Well, that doesn't just happen overnight. It takes a lot of work, and it's got a lot of education and information to share with the public. So wouldn't it be great if we had some kind of program that we could share with the public if they wanted to come forward and say, I am part of this city, I want to know what's going on in my city, I want to be a member of it? Well, that is a little rhetorical question. Leadership Germantown is your program. That's where the citizens come up and say, I want to be part of this, I want to know what makes my city the Tennessee Center for Performance Excellence, and all these other awards. All these other awards are great, and I would encourage you to continue your support of Leadership Germantown. That's where one communicates these.
15 seconds.
We have approximately 8 classes, and they include State Government Day, Germantown Education Day, Public Safety Day, Germantown Medical Day, County Government Day, and Germantown Business Day. And I would encourage your support of all of them by supporting Leadership Germantown. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. The next speaker will be Amber Abney. If you could come forward and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Amber Abney, address 3117 Carrick Drive, Germantown 38138. Speaking on behalf of the funding of the grant for Leadership Germantown. As a transplant to this great city almost 8 years ago and a graduate of the Leadership Germantown class of 2014, best class ever, I stand before you this evening to tell you the importance of this organization. Leadership Germantown equips all of its graduates to lead, connect, and navigate change within this great community. This program provides a robust and immersive program for members to engage in the community with exposure as well as a path to plug in where individual talents are needed. Within my own class of 25, we all came from different backgrounds, races, genders, and religions, but we all had one thing in common: to become better individuals who can make an impact on our community and lead it forward. We learned from each other's strengths and weaknesses on how to succeed. We learned that there isn't always just one right answer, and we learned to take 100% responsibility for our actions. Now, as a newly elected board member of LG, I am continuing to utilize my talents to help introduce our current class to everything this city and our surrounding areas have to offer, heading up our newly nonprofit session day. This organization is vital, not only for our lifelong Germantown citizens, but for transplants like myself, who want to get involved, who want a voice, who have an opinion, and who care about this great city's future. Thank you, Mayor and Aldermen, for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Abney. Next speaker will be Price Harris. Please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes once you state your name and address for the record.
My name is Price Harris. I live at 1816 Old Mill Road here in Germantown. Proud to do so and have since 2001. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to address the board on behalf of Leadership Germantown and my 24 best friends, some of whom are here tonight, one of them right here. I came tonight because I came with the heart of thanking the city for the donation that they're going to give to this program. And I thought, what can I say? And listen to all the fine people who come before me. What I was going to say has already been said. And so that probably shortens this a lot to a lot of people's happiness there. But what I want to point out about this program is what it means to the city and what it means to the community at large. One of the things we're blessed with is living in Germantown. If you stop and think about it, with all the bickering that you may hear in Memphis and other places, we got a really fine place to live here in Germantown, and we're truly blessed. And for that, we should thank every morning. We should get up and thank our lucky stars. And part of that is also the ability to come before this board and speak and be heard, and really be heard, and to also participate in our community. What Leadership Germantown, to me, does is it gives me a platform to want to go somewhere, to find a place to fit in, to volunteer to help our community. You have chosen to come before us as the leaders of this, but we also want to be leaders in our community. We may not serve in this capacity, but we serve in other capacities. We have independent owners of businesses that have given of their time to come and to join this group. We have people who've been members of the class and now rise to the position of leadership in the group. And what it does is it gives us a catalyst. I think Memphis has something like a seed generator. It's a seed generator for Germantown to have leaders. And what it does is it puts the unity in community. Stop and think about that for a minute. What does that exactly mean? It puts the unity in community. It's a place where we can come with similar ideas, similar beliefs, and similar hopes to serve our community to make it better. I've known you since I was 4 years old. I've known you for years. I met you a few years ago. I've known every one of you for years, and everything that I see with y'all is you want to lead, serve, to have a great place to live. This is a good organization to do that with. This is a great place if you move to Germantown. Where can I go to get involved? I can plug in with LG. I'm not sure what to do about this. I want to know about transparency in government. I want to go and see what happens. I can join LG, and they'll teach me where to go ask for the questions. They'll show me who to go talk to. They'll give me platforms with people I can mainstream with and I can go and ask questions to that have been through the program. I feel like I have so many new friends that I didn't realize I have, and that's just because I'm in the current class. We've been through one session, and we've been through Team Trek. We graduated Team Trek. We all got a carabiner clip. Everybody still got theirs? I wear this to work every day, and except for maybe one day I forgot it. Don't tell that part. But what it is, it reminds me to keep it 100. Now, there's two ways about that. That's keeping it honest to the point, but it's also accepting responsibility for what it is. And what we learn is whatever it is whatever you want it to be. You're right. Now, what are you going to do? If you got a problem, you're right. Now, how are you going to fix the problem? And what you're doing with this grant is you're helping this organization to stay viable, stay vibrant, and to be active in this community. You are allowing the class of 2019 to come in, the class of 2020 to come in, and so forth by the city's grant.
15 seconds.
Thank you so much for what you've done. I hope that this goes through. I apologize if I offended anybody, but I hope I've made some sense. And thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you.
Mayor, I want to point out that he had white hair at 4 also.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Alderman Yonda. The next speaker, Nasser Fazula, come forward, please, and state your name for the record. And you have 3 minutes, Nasser.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Honorable Aldermen. My name is Nasser Fazlullah, 1950 Brigands Cove. Just want you to know I was born and grew up in a little country named Bangladesh, where I grew up listening to my father over and over and over, son, with hard work, honesty, and faith in God, sky's the limit. Given the opportunity in 1989, I came to this country, and I get pretty emotional. when I talk about this country. I feel like I am the poster child of America's dream. I came to this country, I went to college, I was working in a fast food chain, flipping burgers. In 2 years, I have gone from flipping burger to corporate America. So that's not, America's dream than what it is. So I didn't really come here prepared today. I came here because I feel like it's LG. I'm the proud member of LG 2018. So I'm just going to say a few things from my heart. Again, I have worked in a corporation for 15-some years. I have learned so many things. I was able to do so many things. And I wanted to be a small business owner. I become a small business owner. Today, I'm a small business owner. So much I have achieved being in this country. I just cannot say enough. And again, this is so emotional for me when I talk about this country and what I have gotten from this country. So my family and I made the commitment that we will give back every day, every second of our rest of our life. I have 2 boys, they serve. I serve. My wife served. And 3 years ago, we moved to the city of Germantown. I love the Shelby County, the whole thing. But, we moved to the city of Germantown. And I started looking at Germantown. Germantown is the best in the state of Tennessee. And then thank you, our leaders. And again, just like our fellow members say that Germantown did not become #1 or #2 on its own. There is a reason for it. 2 months ago, I signed up to LG 2018. And I regret every day now why I didn't do it 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's just incredible. LG 2018 happened to be best ever. Thank you, my fellow members. In 2 months, I have been in corporate America. I have gone through many trainings, many motivational training. I have learned, but in 2 months, I feel like I have learned more than ever in any training I have ever gone through. Today, I feel like in 2 months, I feel like I'm a better person, I'm a smarter person, I'm more responsible, I take much more ownership, I love my city more, I love my country more, and I'm even more willing to do whatever it takes to make all of us better. Leadership Germantown is the best. There is no training I can ever think of. 15 years in a corporate America, I have gone through many, many, many training, and there is nothing I can compare to Leadership Germantown. So, my honorable leaders, Leadership Germantown to me is not an option. It is a must, and I thank you for you guys.
Thank you, sir. The last speaker this evening will be Terry Harris. Terry, if you could come forward and state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I'm Terry Harris. I live at 1816 Old Mill Road. And I guess I would say I'm a professional volunteer. It seems like I've spent over half of my adult life volunteering in schools and in the community of some sort. And as you might imagine, it doesn't pay a whole lot. In fact, it doesn't pay anything at all. So when I was invited to attend LG, one of the things that I don't have a company that could just write a check. I don't have any way to pay that tuition. So I was offered a scholarship, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. It allowed me to become an advocate for children in a different way than I had been before with PTA. It allowed me to become a better volunteer. I even got up at 4 o'clock this morning to drive to Nashville to attend the Tennessee Testing Task Force meeting to advocate for children who are being tested in statewide testing. I didn't do that as any sort of parapolitical arm of any organization. I did that as a mom that was ready to advocate for children. And I'm very appreciative of that opportunity to become a better advocate. And so I do hope that you will invest in the program Leadership Germantown so that other people can have the same opportunity I did, so that they can also return that back to our community. Thank you so much, and I do hope that you will fund this program this evening. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. That concludes Citizens to be Heard for this evening. We appreciate all the citizens that came forward and spoke to the board this evening. It takes us to item 9 on the agenda. We are actually We are adjourning for just a moment as a board of mayor and aldermen, and now we are coming together as the Germantown Beer Board. We have a public hearing this evening for a temporary beer permit for on-premise for Leadership Germantown Trivia Night.
And Mayor, I'm going to step down from the dais as I'm a board member of Leadership Germantown, so I will be recusing myself from the vote.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Lawton?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Under Section 3-81, conditions of receiving a beer permit, a temporary beer permit authorizing a sale of beer on public property may be issued to a bona fide charitable or nonprofit or political organization as defined by the Tennessee Code annotated, subject to approval by this body, the Beer Board, for the temporary permit. Leadership Germantown is a 501c3 organization and is requesting a temporary beer permit for their annual trivia night to be held on March 24th from 6 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. to be located at the Great Hall and Conference Center. This event is the fundraiser for Leadership Germantown, and the proceeds will go towards furthering the development of the curriculum and class programming that takes place. The administration recommends approval because all of the information regarding their permit request is included in your packet and in compliance with the city's ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton. Is there a motion to approve a temporary beer permit allowing the sale of beer on publicly owned property at Leadership Germantown's Trivia Night, Saturday, March 24th, 2018, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 10:30 p.m.?
Move to approve.
It's a motion.
And a second.
It's a motion and a second. There is a public hearing this evening, so before the board asks staff or discusses the topic, I would open a public hearing this evening. If anyone would like to come forward and speak to the board on this particular item, can do so at this time. This, again, is for a temporary beer permit for on-premise consumption. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Lori Whitney, 8869 Darby Dan Lane, Chairman of the Board for Leadership Germantown. We're requesting the beer permit tonight for our one and only fundraiser, Trivia Night. And I'd like to use this opportunity to thank you for your support in the past. And also, as a public service announcement, considering that this is televised, to invite all community members to attend. It's a very inexpensive evening, $25 a ticket. And it's actually quite casual, lots of fun. Last year we sold out, and we hope to do that again. The funding from this helps to support our operations. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward and speak on this particular item? Anyone else? Third and final call to come forward to speak to the public on this particular item. Seeing no one come forward, the public hearing portion of this agenda item is now concluded. We are available for staff questions, or the leadership from Leadership Germantown is here if any board member would like to field any questions. Alderman Massey.
I don't have any questions. You know, I have not historically supported the beer permits on public property. I'm going to take the same position tonight. It's not a reflection of how I feel about Leadership Germantown. It's a reflection of how I feel about approving beer permits on public property. I've talked to other police officers, not other police, I've talked to police officers about this issue, and a lot of them seem to agree that it sends a mixed message. And so for me, being the Alderman liaison to the Public Safety and Education Commission, I think that it's appropriate for me to be a no vote tonight. But again, it's not a reflection of how I feel about your organization. Thank you.
Alderman Owens.
Yeah, thank you. Patrick, can you explain to me what is, this is at the Great Hall, and I know we've discussed this before, but what is the reason that we have to have a temporary beer permit if the Great Hall already is allowed to sell alcohol? Why does Leadership Germantown have to keep?
Because this is for the charitable nonprofit organization. Okay. And the permit will be for them to do that and to sell.
And they sell it.
And they sell it, and then that helps raise dollars for the organization.
May I assist with that as well, if you don't mind? The fact that they also sell wine, and they have to get a permit from the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, they go hand in hand. So the City of Germantown will have to issue a beer permit to go along with the Alcoholic Beverage Commission's permit.
I thought I remembered that. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Alderman Yonda?
I'm good.
It's been properly motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Massey? No. Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
You have your permit. That concludes business before the Beer Board, so the Beer Board is now adjourned, and we reconvene as the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. That brings us to item 10 on the agenda, the consent agenda. I'll go through those items quickly. Just for the general public's knowledge, the consent agenda was printed ahead of time in an executive session. The Board thoroughly reviewed and was presented the consent agenda as well. Item 10A, appointment to the Great Hall and Conference Center Advisory Commission. 10B, appointments to the Personnel Advisory Commission. 10C, appointment to the Shelby County Board of Equalization. 10D, authorization for competitive seal proposal, police indoor firing range. Item E, contract, Germantown Athletic Club and Germantown Performing Arts Center, chiller repairs. Item F was pulled from the agenda. Item G, PEG, Public Education Governmental Disbursement to GMSD, second quarter. Item H, purchase annual fire alarm protection services. Item I, purchase hook lift truck. Item J, purchase network switch replacement. Item K, purchase non-inventory janitorial items. Item L, purchase police department mobile data terminals. Item M, purchase printing and mailing services. And finally, item N, services contract, post and rail fencing materials and installation. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
Move to approve.
So motion by Alderman Yonda, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Consent agenda carries. Takes us to item 11A on the agenda. That was the previous 10F. If you'd like to go to your books at this time, that's the grant for Leadership Germantown. Mr. Lawton?
And Mayor, I'll be recusing myself and stepping back down.
Let the record show that Vice Mayor Gibson is recusing herself from this particular item and stepping off the dais. Mr. Lawton.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. The fiscal year 18 approved budget includes a grant in the amount of $13,600 to support the efforts of the Leadership Germantown program. Attached to your agenda material is a letter from the chairman of the program and the program director requesting that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen now appropriate these funds to help support Leadership Germantown. Leadership Germantown was formed in 1996 by a joint effort of the City of Germantown and the Chamber of Commerce. The goal of the program is to develop future community leaders through a series of leadership development courses over a 6-month period. Involvement in the program is application-based, and it is designed for those individuals who want to make a difference in their community. There is a series of interactive modules. Program participants learn about their own leadership capacity. You heard about that this evening with the reference to Team Trek. The people, the organizations, and the institutions that make up our community and how they can engage in serving the community more deeply. This could include, after graduation, taking a leadership role, perhaps in their homeowners association, a civic club, serving on one of the many boards and commissions that the city appoints, or even serving in an elected office. Over its 22-year history, the program has produced hundreds of leaders serving in just these type of positions. The Leadership Germantown Board is all voluntary, and I can tell you is absolutely a working board with members charged with developing the various curriculums for each session and oftentimes finding the dollars to support each one of the sessions. This year's funding, if appropriated this evening by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, would go a long way to support the activities of the board. The administration recommends approval of this item.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton. Is there a motion to approve payment of a grant to Leadership Germantown in the amount of $13,600?
Move to approve.
It's a motion?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Massey.
So if any of the members of Leadership Germantown want to speak first, I can wait. So
I'm going to speak, but it doesn't matter which order.
Go ahead, Forrest.
Sure.
No,
it's Alderman Oates. Yeah, I'll be brief. I can't top what you guys have just done there. Thank you for standing up and speaking on behalf of Leadership Germantown. I would just simply say succinctly that I believe providing assistance and growing leadership within our community is a worthwhile, necessary, and valiant endeavor. Cities and counties throughout Shelby County, as well as throughout the country, do the same thing, develop leaders in the same manner. It encourages volunteers, it encourages civic involvement, and it encourages charitable support. In transparency, as you mentioned, I am a graduate of the class of 1999. At that time, I was the planning director for the city of Germantown, and I would say that Chief Selberg, Director Beasley, Russell Johnson were also in that class, so if there is any debate about the best class ever, I think that's just been extinguished. No, in all reality, hopefully that right there would prove to you that it is a worthwhile program and worthy of this grant, and I would encourage my fellow board members to support the grant.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Barzizza.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say there are several areas of the budget that I disagreed with back when we were voting on all three times back in the spring and into the summer. One of these is certainly not the grant that is proposed tonight for Leadership Germantown. I've got some friends in the room that have twisted my arm about donations to Leadership Germantown. I'm not going to say what we were drinking, but anyway, I think it serves its purpose, without a doubt. I just wish I had the time back when I first got elected to participate in Leadership Germantown. So I will be a yes vote tonight. I just want to thank you folks for bringing to our attention your passion for Leadership Germantown.
Alderman Massey.
So I'm in a little bit of a predicament tonight. You know, I respect the members of the board, respect everybody in Leadership Germantown, but you know, I have people who are retired, they're on fixed incomes, that are calling me and reminding me that we just passed a 13% tax increase. And they're telling me this organization has 450 often well-to-do members, and the only thing it would take is for them to pay an additional $2.50 a month to cover this $13,600. And so when I'm talking to these folks, it's very hard for me to justify voting in favor of giving you taxpayer money when all you have to do is look to your alumni and ask them to pay, again, $2.50 a month to cover this amount of money. I think you do great work. I think over the past few years you've crossed the line into politics. I hope to see you scale that back. I was the personal target of some of that work, so I know firsthand that it happens. I was told by two of your members, they're not here tonight, but I was told by them that I could never be elected to a position in Germantown because I had never gone through Leadership Germantown. That sort of thing hurts your organization. I think it was started for the right purposes. I think most of you are very good people. You don't realize this, but I have very good friends who are actually part of your organization. And in talking to them, they actually agree with my position, not every single one of them, but a number of them agree with my position on this, that asking your own membership for another $2.50 is much more fair than actually using government force to compel our taxpayers to subsidize your organization, and that's what you're asking us to do. And so I hope you won't hold this against me personally, and you'll look at just what I'm saying here, and I think you'll see that it's very reasonable. It's a very reasonable position for me to oppose granting this money under the circumstances. And it's not just your organization that I've taken this position on. There are other civic organizations where I've taken the same position and held that we should not arbitrarily grant taxpayer money if there's some other way for that organization to be funded. And in your case, you have the membership, you have the ability to fund this without the taxpayers' money, and that's all I ask you to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Anyone else? It's a motion. It's been properly seconded. Please call the roll.
Alderman Yonda,
Absolutely.
Alderman Barzizza,
Yes.
Alderman Massey,
No.
Alderman Owens.
Yes.
The measure carries. You have your funding for this fiscal year. I would just state that Captain Hall and I were members of the class of '96. Now he's chief and I'm mayor. So thank you for the leadership that you provided and the training you provided and just the great background. Class of '96, best class ever. All right. Next item on the agenda, item 11B, construction contract, Farmington Park East Field renovations. Director Beasley.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. The purpose of this agenda item is to authorize the mayor to enter into a construction contract with Ambassador Construction Company, LLC, for the Farmington East renovation project in the amount of $147,000 and to approve budget adjustment number 18-44. As you know, for a number of years, this site was home to our T-ball program, and in 2006, we moved that program to Cameron Brown Park and renovated the site for much-needed soccer, lacrosse, and now rugby fields. These fields are heavily used, and the existing turf has proven to be very unreliable, especially during the rainy seasons. We need improvements to the East Field that will sustain year-round play for the city's sports user groups, including soccer and our newest provider, rugby. The FY18 project will provide funding for the work that needs to be done and includes laser grading for proper drainage, amending the soil for proper growing nutrients, making sure our irrigation is in place, and sodding with a new, it's called 419 Bermuda for a playable surface. This is a much denser Bermuda than is currently there now. We conducted our standard bidding process per our policy. There were 3 qualified bids, and the lowest bidder was in the amount of $147,000. We had a budget of $130,000, so we're asking tonight for that budget adjustment in the amount of $17,000 to be added to complete the project. Ambassador Construction Company has been in business for over 29 years. They worked for the city before and actually performed the renovation work at the other field at Farmington in 2013 with a good performance record. This project is supported by the Park Commission, the Germantown Youth Sports Alliance, our school partners, and also the users of the Farmington East Field. Mayor and Board, this agenda item also supports the Germantown Forward 2030 plan by allowing us to invest back into our assets to deliver high-quality services and also to ensure that our kids have quality of life experiences. I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Director Beasley. Is there a motion to approve a construction contract with Ambassador Construction Company, LLC, in the amount of $147,000 for the Farmington Park East Field renovation and to approve budget adjustment number 18-44?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza.
Yes, Ms. Beasley, a question in regards to the field itself. Does the field ever have any rest time where it can rejuvenate itself?
Yes, sir. During the summer months, between June and July, first part of August, so about 10 weeks of recovery.
Very good, thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Please call the roll.
Alderman Barzizza,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson.
Yes.
Alderman Massey,
Yes.
Alderman Owens,
Yes.
Alderman Yonda.
Yes. Motion carries. It brings us to item number 12 on the agenda, service contract, landscape management and mowing services. Director Mills.
Thank you, Mayor, and I might point out class of 2002, if I could.
And you became president of your national association. Good job, bud.
I would also like to point out, Mayor and Board, we have Deborah Jones here with us, who is the owner of Sun Group Corporation, and her two helpers, Mr. Kenny and Brandon, are here with her as well, so they can also help with questions. Mayor and Board, Germantown Forward 2030 calls for the public works to be good stewards of our city's assets. There's little doubt that our landscaping is obviously one of our city's largest and most beautiful assets. The purpose of this agenda item is to request permission to enter into a 3-year landscape maintenance and mowing contract with Sun Group Services Incorporated in the amount of $494,075 annually. For several years, the city has outsourced our mowing, landscaping, and irrigation services. The existing contract is with LSG, and it will expire at the end of March. So on January the 10th, we conducted a mandatory pre-bid meeting providing information about our desired service levels, and those went out to 9 prospective contractors. Bids were received from 4 companies. 2 of the 4 companies did not use the correct bid form, which was called for in an addendum, and they were disqualified. Of the 2 acceptable bids, one was from LSG, our current provider, and the other was from Sun Group Incorporated. Sun Group was the low bidder. We have checked several references on Sun Group, and as I mentioned, a Germantown-based company, and had a 1.5-hour interview with them on February the 5th, where staff reviewed our expectations and were assured of the participation of our company that we're asking for tonight. They were in agreement with our expectations and understood the parameters of the work as was described. This is a very important contract before the board tonight for landscape maintenance. It also covers our biannual plantings that go on the medians and around our buildings. It does cover our irrigation system, which is rather extensive, and then all of the mowing of the common areas and right-of-ways within our city. This contract has an FY18 impact of $183,351, covering services from April through June in this current fiscal year, and then the impact for the next 2 years is $494,075. Included in the bid were provisions to extend this contract for 2 additional years. At that time, we would ask the board to approve those extensions if all parties agreed to do so, and that would be at the end of this 3-year agreement that you're about to vote on. Mayor and Board, staff recommends approval of this 3-year contract with Sun Group Incorporated for $494,075 annually. I can respond to questions, and of course the owners are here as well.
Thank you, Director. Is there a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into a 3-year landscape management and mowing services contract with Sun Group Services, Inc. in the amount of $494,075 per contract year?
So moved. To approve.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Question.
Alderman Barzizan.
Mr. Mills, what was the, comparing apples to apples, what was our cost over the last 3 years with the other provider?
The current contract that we have with LSG is about $100,000, $120,000 less than the bid package that we have now.
And
so 1.58%
and what did that,
over
and that provider or that contractor submitted a bid?
It did submit a bid,
and
their
what was
bid
that bid?
was $102,000 higher than the low bid that we're asking for tonight on an annual basis.
How did he substantiate that increase? That was a pretty healthy increase on his part.
So, sir? No, sir, we did not. We didn't discuss the bid packages with the bidders. We just decided to accept the low bidder. We didn't do a comparison between the two.
Okay, thank you.
So LSG was the current provider, and they've been providing services and understood the level of service that we needed. They submitted their bid. Sun Group come in with a bid that was lower. We met with Sun Group, and we went through their packet and went through descriptions of all the parcels, made sure they understood apples to apples, that everybody understood how many acres and how much was involved in each portion of it, and they substantiated that they understood and accepted.
Well, I'm a little concerned that it's a great deal more, but considering and it's really and truly we had 2 bids, correct?
Yes, sir.
And one put himself out with a pretty healthy increase to boot. So
well, it's 1.58% increase over what we're paying current fiscal year with LSG. So all the increase is 1.58% increase. in
Okay,
cost.
all right, now
With
you put it in those
Sun
terms.
Group's- With Sun Group's bid, that's correct.
Okay,
So
all
it's,
right.
that's a very modest increase.
Okay, all
Compared to our current contract. I may have not worded that correctly a minute ago.
I understand it better then. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mills, you did say, though, that you've met with the contract, the folks that we're going to award the contract to, and you feel comfortable that they haven't missed something, that extra $100,000 or extra money that LSG somehow missed or added on, you don't feel like there's anything that they have missed that they don't know that they need to do?
So Robert Child serves as my contracts administrator. He's worked for the city for 25 years and understands each portion of this contract intricately. I pretty much deferred to him at our review meeting and let him go through parcel by parcel. We also had maps on the table that we could look at, and we had parameters drawn around areas to be mowed, areas to be maintained. Again, the staff with Sun Group had done their homework, and they were accepting and understanding all of the parcels as we went through.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for staff? It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Massey,
Yes.
Alderman Owens,
Yes.
Alderman Yonda,
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza.
Yes.
We have new mowing services. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Mills.
Make us look good.
Brings us to item number 13 on the agenda, Memorandum of Understanding, Financing and Construction of Administration Building for the Germantown Municipal School District. Mr. Heisman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. The last agenda item for your consideration this evening is a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Germantown Municipal School District regarding the financing and construction of a new permanent facility for the district's administrative operations. Since the establishment of the Germantown Municipal School District in 2014, the district's administrative operations, including departments such as student services, human resources, finance, and communications, have been located on the second level of the Care for retail complex on our city's western border. Presently, over 40 administrative employees are utilizing over 8,000 square feet of leased space for office and public meeting rooms in order to meet the district's daily operational needs. According to the district's 2017 Master Facilities Plan, a new administration building, or central office space as it refers to in the plan, is listed as a primary capital improvement need for fiscal year 18 and is second only to the construction of a new elementary school. If approved, the new building would be built on the same site as and just to the north of the new elementary school. By constructing the elementary school and the administration building simultaneously, the district will benefit quite significantly through savings and mobilization costs. The district has stated a number of reasons for this request. A few of those are that they have outgrown their current space. They desire to discontinue the practice of leasing property in a retail complex and settle into a permanent location, since they do intend to be here for the long term. And being closer in proximity to the majority of their school sites would improve operational efficiencies and provide greater accessibility for district families and guests. The total cost to construct the administration building is estimated to be $4 million. Current plans for this facility will at least double the footprint of their existing location in order to provide more space for public meetings, offices, training, development, and storage. And I have confirmed that they're working on about 18,000 to 19,000 square feet currently. The district has committed to pay an initial $1 million from their reserves towards the project. Because the district does not have the ability to borrow capital per state law, the city is being asked to secure financing as a pass-through for the balance of $3 million through the issuance and sale of 12-year capital outlay notes. Costs related to issuing the debt will also be included with the issuance. As each of you are aware, the city has issued $45 million in general obligation bonds to support the district since its inception in 2014. That figure includes rounded amounts of $27 million for a new elementary school, $12 million for the expansion at Riverdale, and $6 million for road improvements at the new school site. In addition to the maintenance of effort funding that the city is required to provide, the city continues to partner with the district, covering costs associated with the staffing of police officers at each of our schools, crossing guards throughout the community, and other educational enrichment investments. That being said, this project is unique in that the city is not being asked to cover any costs related to the construction of the administration building. The district will remit payments to the city in amounts equal to the debt service payments as payments become due. Lastly, it is the intent of both the city and the district to include a prepayment option as part of the financing terms, and any costs in excess of the net proceeds from the capital outlay notes will be the direct responsibility of the district. The district's Board of Education approved the MOU at their most recent board meeting held on February 20th. If the BMA does the same, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of the notes will be drafted for the first FAC meeting and then for the BMA's consideration in mid-2018. The MOU before you this evening is simply an expression of the intent of both parties to move forward with the financing and construction of the new administration building as presented. Our district superintendent, Jason Manuel, Nicholas Yatsula from PFM, the city's financial advisor, Administrator Lawton, and I are available to answer any questions you may have regarding this MOU.
Thank you, Mr. Heisman. Is there a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the City of Germantown and the Germantown Municipal School District in regards to the financing and construction of a new GMSD administration building?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Massey.
Jason, do you remember how much the school, the elementary school that we're building, you remember how much it was per square foot?
I don't have that answer, how much perhaps our superintendent might.
Mr. Manuel, may know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone to bid yet, so there is no definitive how much per square foot the building is.
The elementary school?
Correct.
What are you estimating?
Current market, talking to our contractors and architect firm, is $200 to $210 a square foot.
Okay, so when I'm doing the math on the administrative building, I'm getting $222 a square foot. So I guess the question that's going to come up is, why is the administrative building costing more to build than the actual elementary school?
And that's where you're not taking into account architect fees, FF&E, all the other costs that go with this process. You've got engineering fees that go with it too, landscaping fees that go with it. It's not just the building construction itself. But once again, we are not asking you to pay anything.
Well, I understand that, but we're still the funding body as far as you getting the bond. So we have to provide some oversight, Mr. Manuel. So that's why I'm asking the question. I'm not going to vote against this, but I still want to understand it because I'm going to get questions from our residents, and so that's why I'm asking you these questions.
The answer is because it's not just the construction of the building. Once again, we haven't gone to market, so you can't plug in a number like 200, 210, 220 a square foot. It's an estimate on what we think we will get once we go out to our competitive process to get the loan for this.
So did your estimate of $210 per square foot for the elementary school, what did it include that, or what didn't it include then that would be included in the administrative building?
If you remember, we didn't use an estimate of $200 to $210 a square foot for the new elementary school. When we came before this board, we used the current figures that we had for Riverdale at that time. And so once again, we were looking at $170, $180 a square foot to do our estimates on the square footage for the building.
So why wouldn't we use similar estimates for the administrative building? It's just a bit, you understand what I'm saying? There's a big difference here.
Yes, sir. The construction market has changed, and I think we've discussed this also. The fact that you have contractors who are going and doing sheetrock work in Florida, that they're going to Texas, and you can't get the subs that you have now. The construction market across the state has dramatically changed, and so that's why you're seeing those increases in construction costs.
If I could add one other comment, when we were sizing the bond issue a year ago, we were also looking at a finite number.
That's correct.
When you talk about our bonding capacity overall, so there was an amount that was really, Mr. Manuel and I and the mayor and the school board chairman at that time, Ms. Fisher, we literally negotiated on what would be available in terms of funding for the project. So a lot of the engineering and architectural work backed into that figure because it was an amount that we would not exceed at the time we issued the debt.
That's correct. And two, what we're trying to do is also save the taxpayers money. So what we're trying to do is switch lease payments over to mortgage payments, which is why we have come up with $1 million coming from our reserve. And once again, we have built this reserve over a 3.5-year period, over a $12 million reserve in our district. So we're using $1 million so that we can use our current lease payments for our modular classrooms and for our central office space. We're spending $156,000 a year in lease payments for our current space. And so the goal is that we will then switch over those lease payments for essentially mortgage payments for this property, and that's what we'll be remitting to the city.
I don't think anybody on the board would disagree with that idea. I think we're all in support of you building an administrative building. I think what I'm uncomfortable with, though, is just the uncertainty of the numbers themselves. But I was a little bit uncomfortable about the uncertainty about the numbers when we did the bond issue. I don't think it was a secret. And so for me, that's why I'm asking the question, because like I said, we're going to get questions. I've already gotten questions from residents who are asking, why does it look like we're spending more on the administrative offices than we are on the school? And I think it's a fair question. And so when I look at this, I'm still not sure that I have a really good answer to go back to the residents with. Maybe y'all understand it better than I do. So if I'm missing something, I'm open to listening to different folks. Obviously, like I said, I think we're going to support this, but it would be good to have a better understanding so that we can explain this to the residents of Germantown when they give us a call.
And I'll clarify too. 18,000 square feet times 200 gives me 3.6 million. When you talk about the percentage that you would pay for architect fees that are also built into this, and FF&E on top of that, the furniture, fixture, the things that we're putting in the building, we're only talking about a difference of $400,000 that we would be paying for that. And once again, this is just an estimate until we go to bid and we actually put this out to the market that we won't know the construction costs.
Could we not get some of the site work and the plans included in the work that we're already doing with the elementary school? Is there not some strength in doing that?
We are, and so that is part of this process. That's why we're doing this process. So another thing that you get from this too is when you go out to bid and you're talking about a central office with a new school too, you'll get different contracting companies that will bid on this project because it's a bigger project. So we are expecting that we will have some savings. But once again, we won't know that until we actually go out to bid.
Alderman Owens.
Yep. So that was my question exactly. I think you asked. The $4 million is inclusive. I know it's an estimate, but it's inclusive of FF&E, design, civil.
All in.
Okay. And so typically, my experience has been when you are looking at plans for a scale like this, a school, something like that, 10% would be a number that an architect could charge. So I think that's pretty spot on, 3.6 and then the 400 to include it. And I would also just state that, Germantown Pres, our church, and we're building that we just approved the contract for, and we've seen a complete escalation from where we started in terms of costs for contractors. It's been difficult to have to get to keep those prices low. So anyways, those are my questions. Thank you.
Alderman Yonda.
I just want to say I also have an awful lot of retired friends that I talk to, probably because of my age. Not any of them have talked to me about our taxes being increased or whatever, but what they have talked to me about is how do we keep our schools going in the direction they're going so that their house value keeps going up. And I think this is a great idea. The last time we lent you money, you paid it considerably faster than we expected. I have, and they do, these retired friends of mine, these people we talk about the schools, this is really important to them because a lot of them are going to be moving to these different areas, the villages, et cetera, by selling their houses and stuff. So they know that the schools are important. But I've always said I don't want to be city poor and school rich. Mm-hmm. So I like this kind of lending you money and instead of bonding it out and everything. So I will be voting for it. I'll be voting yes. And keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. And I appreciate it very much, and the citizens of our community appreciate it too.
Alderman Barzizza. Vice Mayor. been motioned and seconded.
One
Go
other
ahead.
question.
Go ahead, sure.
The other thing that we're going to get asked is, if we put the administrative building here and in the future we need to expand at that location, are we going to have room to possibly expand? You and I talked about the fact that a lot of people wanted to see a K through 8 there, and that's one of the questions we're going to get. Well, what if we need to use this space to expand that school? So what is the answer when we get asked that question?
When we open the doors to this K-5 school, there's room for over 300 additional students that we currently don't have at this school. So know that, first of all, we are planning with the growth in mind, and so we have an extended period. I will do a presentation for you in the near future where I show you all of our predictions of complete build-out of the city of growth. I've actually met with Mr. Lawton and his staff to show that presentation. So you'll see we've done extensive projections of if the city was completely built out and there wasn't a parcel that didn't have a residence on it, how many students would we predict? And we don't predict that we would need to expand. But that being said, there are also 16 additional acres on this property that could be used for school expansion, and that doesn't include what we're currently using. You could add on to the current school site as it is without encroaching onto that 16 plus acres. So the answer to that question is we built for growth and we have room for growth.
Thank you. You mentioned that you'd shared some information with Mr. Lawton. One thing that would be helpful to me is if you would share that, or to the board is really what I mean, if you would share that information with the board. So anytime you share information with Mr.
Yes.
Lawton, if you could just copy the board, I think we would all appreciate that. Would that be okay with everyone?
And I think I'm planning a presentation for you because it's a PowerPoint that doesn't have, it's not self-explanatory, but I'm planning in the near future when we have our next joint session that will be my presentation to you.
Just kind of puts us behind the 8 ball a little bit. And I know you're not working on a time frame. You're working with the administration. I understand that, but what I'm saying is if going forward, if we can just get a copy on some of that correspondence, so we have it at the same time that the administration's getting it, give us a little bit more time to review. I personally would appreciate it.
Sure, and it's also on our webpage too. If you go and you see the new school and you see our growth, that presentation is there also.
Thank you.
Any other questions? It's been motioned and seconded. Please call the roll.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
You have approval for the memorandum of understanding, and we welcome that. I would like to just say that when we formed the district 4 years ago, we really didn't have any space, and the folks at Care For were actually very, very agreeable to work with the city and the school board. And I know y'all have developed a relationship with your landlord in essence, but now you want to become a homeowner. So, but Care For did a great job for the community, the city, and for the school board. We've reached a conclusion of our meeting. We are adjourned.